All right, so here's a video about how I, maybe could perform my own minor surgery and how that relates to the potential Obamacare reform or Trump care, whatever you want to call it. Little background how we got here. I got unfortunately caught in a corporate layoff. The company I was with for the last 2 years, which I really liked in a lot of ways, unfortunately just hit some, kind of financial speed bumps along the way, and had to jettison a chunk of their workforce. I was already planning on leaving, and so I'd already been through, some interviews and that type of thing. So I'm actually pretty excited about what's next. I've been talking to some great companies, so it's not one of those like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do stories. It's more like pretty excited to step into the next chapter of my career. Amanda's doing the same thing, which sounds awesome, and it is. She's going to work with a company that's going to allow her to use a mix of design and sewing and management, and really pumped for her. She's going to kill it with that. Here's the thing about it, though. That means that we are completely uninsured for 3 months, or until I land my next full-time thing, due to the fact that Amanda's insurance doesn't kick in for 3 months, and my insurance runs out in about 72 hours. So that's kind of a thing. I'm going to the doctor right now. I found a little kind of bump on my rib, like a little fatty thing, and depending on what they say, we may just have to cut that sucker open, because I grew up on a farm, and we would do this with hogs. If they had a little tumor type thing, you just take it's like a little knife used for castration, and you just slit that thing open, and you get the crap out of it, and then you you sterilize it, and they're usually fine. So richest country in America, it may come to that. And if you're like, oh well, this is the case for universal health care, it would actually be worse in Canada right now. The Canadian system's backed up by about 20 weeks, which is really, really insane. And, as far as the reason I don't want us to go to a Canadian or British or Swedish kind of state-run healthcare is because of what happened with the VA. One of my good friends in town who's a vet has had just terrible experience trying to get some knee issues worked out that are a result of the stuff that happened to him in Afghanistan. The system's pretty jacked right now, but I don't think that the government getting involved in running it is going to go any better. And the reason I know that's because of the way that the government runs the VA hospitals, which if you were in combat, you're supposed to get free health care for life, and I have yet to see that go well for anybody. I don't think there's any stopping at this point some kind of socialized healthcare. It's just the way we're going. That's the bottom line. And so the best situation that I see will be to do what Switzerland does. And what that is everybody pays 8% of their income towards healthcare. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or whatever. And if you're poor and 8% is not enough, then the government comes in and picks up the rest of it. But that's the one where you actually can still get care. So if we're going to do something, and we are, that would be my preference on that. As far as how we got here is what how costs have skyrocketed so much. One of the biggest things is that every time you pay a medical bill, you wind up paying for a lawsuit that somebody's won. I believe it's something like the last time I read. It's just, didn't look this up this morning, so this may not be an accurate stat now, but at one point it was 20% of your medical bill goes to lawsuits. And there is some validity to being able to file a lawsuit if you are injured, God forbid a family member loses their life because of poor health care, which that happens a lot more than you'd think. About again, I didn't look this up this morning, so it may not be an accurate stat now, but I'd read that as much as 1 in 3 deaths in the hospital are due to staff error. So that's not great. And you certainly should have some legal abilities to seek financial restitution from a medical provider who injures or, God forbid, kills somebody. But when those get completely out of hand, when something minor happens and you're getting a couple $1 million and you didn't have to miss more than a week of work, you know, what that means is that all you're really doing is passing along the cost to the customer, because if the medical companies don't have the money, then they're just going to have to raise their prices, and it's healthcare, so you can't, you know, for the most part, live without it, although I really have. All I can say, you know, about the Obamacare thing, and I haven't heard any of my like super, you know, socialized medicine friends really give me a good report on this. So Obamacare kicked in 2012, which caused me to change careers. I was freelancing part-time, teaching college part-time, and I had to actually switch things up and go back into a full-time job because Blue Cross Blue Shield functionally dropped me before it kicked in because I was too expensive. Because I have an allergy to nuts, spend a decent amount of time in the insurance or in the emergency room. You know, kind of like have one of those frequent flyer punch cards. Not really. But you know, that was, so 2012 was the last time I've ever been able to use my insurance. So it's been 5 years, and the deductible has gotten higher and higher with different, you know, a couple different places I've worked. So I've never actually like not paid cash. So in the 5 years since Obamacare, you know, I've had around a $1,500 deductible. Thank God that my medical expenses haven't been higher than that. And, you know, I do, for insurance, I do get, you know, a physical and my teeth cleaned twice a year. So that's something, right, that I don't have to pay out of pocket. But for the most part, it certainly feels to me like, you know, that somebody took my insurance and gave it to somebody else, because since Obamacare kicked in, I have not been able to actually use any insurance because the deductible's been so high. And that's great. It means I didn't get cancer, didn't get in a catastrophic car accident. But I remember back when, like, you know, if I was going through something, I would be able to go to counseling. I'm a really big proponent of mental health care when you need it. And when my deductible was $300, I would just go to counseling if, you know, something was going on. That's not really an option these days, especially not when I'm unemployed. And you're like, hey, what about COBRA? The COBRA bill is about, 25% of my former salary. So given that I'm fairly healthy overall, that, you know, and I've got great job prospects, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to pay that, as it looks like I'll be back in the workforce pretty quickly. So that's all I got to say. I got to go in there and, you know, find out if I have a little fatty tumor on my ribs, and whether or not, I'm not kidding, I'm going to go to the vet store and, you know, get a small castration knife to slit it open and then put a little stitch in it myself, and pour some whiskey on it. Because I'm from Fishhook, Illinois, and dagnabbit, I can do that.